Okay, so here's your introduction to the Lego Mindstorms programming. Now, there are actually two Lego programs we could use. There's the Ev3 Classroom and the Lego Mindstorms education version. Right now, with the computers we have there at school, the Ev3 Classroom doesn't work about 80% of the time. So we're not even going to worry about going there. We're going to go straight to Lego Mindstorms. First thing you need to know is you can't do this on a Chromebook. Now, what's great is you have computers assigned to you in the back. Take them out, log into them. Remember, your login is just your initial login. Don't do from the @ symbol on. Those computers just take your first part. So, student name dot year, and then use your password. For some of you, that's going to cause problems because you still haven't changed your password from the basics. You'll have to deal with that mess. Help each other out. So once you get on a regular computer, not a Chromebook, on a laptop, those in the back, we're going to open that program. And it takes it a few moments. Not terrible. Mine is faster at home because I've got a better computer. That's just flat out what it is. So it brings us, first it gets this lovely thing that says, hey, we're pleased to announce I don't want to see that again. Yeah, we know Spike Prime. I have it at home here. Then we have our basic screen. For those of you who got a message in the middle saying updates are available, if you uncheck that button, you won't ever see that again. If you leave it checked, every time you come on, you have to close it. It's kind of annoying. So what you're looking at is really a Lego, a little bit of everything in there. It can go right into models so that you can build various types of models. You can quick start. There's some programming guides on how to do things fast. In fact, I do suggest if what I'm saying doesn't make any sense or you got some time, go through that. There's some files, and we're going to get here. And then Robot Educator is for me. It's not for you. I think you have it anyway because I don't like to cut anything out. So what we're going to do is we're going to go for a new project, and we want a program. We don't want an experiment, and we're going to press open. Remember, if you're doing this by yourself, you can always pause and go backwards. So here's our project, and it opens up pretty big. You'll see up top it says project, and then below that program. You can have many programs in a project. Many programs in a project. Remember what I said about don't you dare have programs named program 2, program 3. Me and you will not be friends if you can't name your programs. Now, what I want you to know as I did that, you'll notice that project up here went asterisk. What that means is there's unsaved changes. If you see that asterisk, hit Control S. In fact, I'm going to hit Control S now, and it's going to get angry because it doesn't yet really have a name. I'm going to call this one Learning. Ev3, I suggest you not, I suggest you not get too creative with your names. Be straightforward. I find a lot of students lose a lot of time trying to come up with unique names. Don't be that person. Now in here, once you have that, remember I said no program. We're not doing that. So if you double click there, you can actually retype the name. I'm going to call it first program. And I've made my first program. Now, let's kind of go through what the different tabs down here mean. At top, obviously, you have some stuff you can do with the whole project and stuff. That's pretty straightforward. You have some editing possibilities. You have tools, and we'll get back to these, a couple of these. Remember, this is a shortened version of it. We're not going long-winded. So this first down here, the first little tab at the bottom is your action buttons. These are the things that do stuff. We've got medium motor. We've got large motor. We've got move steering and move tank. We've got display. We've got sound. And we got brick light status. So all these are pretty easy, but what we do need to do is eventually we'll need to hook up a brick. Now we're holding off on that right now because I want to let everyone get a chance to write. So let's go ahead and pull up actually I'm going to pull up move tank because it's going to be the most common. I just picked it up and moved it up here. Remember, if you need a mouse, they're over in the corner. So once we get that, let's see if I can put this in the middle here and zoom in a little bit. I use my zoom buttons here so you can see even better. Okay, so Once you're into this, this is actually, if you are in programming, we call this a method. This is called block programming because it takes care of everything for you. You'll notice the motors it shows is B and C. If you remember when you put your robot together, that was the motor parts where you put in for your large motors, your wheels. So B and C are the most common. The other most common for the wheel sets is A and D. Stick with the B and C. You'll be happier. Generally, it'll automatically do that for you so you don't have to guess what it is. Anytime you have a block like this, that upper right-hand corner has some value too. Then we have other stuff down here. So first one is on for rotations. Here is my options for a motor. I can turn the motor off, or I can turn the motor on, which means I can turn the motor on and it'll just run forever, which can be dangerous without some conditioning. I can turn it off. I can turn it on for seconds. I can turn it on for degrees or on for rotations. Remember what I said before? We don't really want to use rotations. Rotation is 360 degrees. One rotation is 360 degrees. Stick with degrees. Now, the only time I would say use on for seconds is if you're doing something where the motor might exceed itself. Meaning, for some of you, you're going to get some claws and some other stuff. And when you do it, a lot of times the motor, like it's the claw, maybe it's coming together, but you've got it programmed to come together past what it did, and it'll lock up. If you do on for seconds, it don't generally lock up. That's my other dog. So we're going to do on for degrees almost all the time. Now, these next two are the power to the motors. Right now, it has both motors doing at half speed. Avoid the urge to go fast. As you're learning, I would suggest you keep everything at about 20 or 30. So I'm going to turn this down to 20 and this down to 20. And the reason I'm going to say that is if you go fast and you can't catch the little guy, things get tough. And then they got 360 degrees. This last button tells you whether or not you want to make it break or you want to let it coast. I have never found a good reason to let it coast, ever. Okay, so that's the most common, and that's the move tank. The move steering down here, we will almost never use. It has some value, but it's only if you want to make a curve that's like this. Most of our curves that are robot, we're going to let the little guy spin in a 360 degree because it's much easier and easier to move. So we're not going to really use move steering too much. We generally will not use a single large motor unless you've created a car or something based on that. And you'll notice this one says D because it assumes if you're using a secondary large motor that it's out there by itself. And you'll notice to get rid of them and just move them down, you can always hit delete. The last one is our medium motor. That's the one you guys have in the middle right now. And it does the same things as before, except obviously there's only one motor, whereas the move tank actually uses both the left and right motor. So we can do this whatever we want, on, never on for rotations, on for degrees, whatever speed, and we can go. Cool. Okay. Some of the other useful ones down here. The display is amusing. You can actually put things on the. So we can go name. Oh, let's see. Lego. Remember I said that upright has value. So I can put eyes, a black eye. There you go, and that'll show up on my brick. Okay, that's as goofy as it gets. This gives you some other options. You could actually write in your own text. You could make your own shapes and draw your own thing. You could reset the screen. This is how long is it true or false? Do you want it on? Then X or Y is the centering. Just like a grid, and you'll learn more of that. X and Y being 0, it means it's centered right on the grid. X can go left and right, positive and negative, just like you did with your motors. And that would shift the eyes. If the eyes were to the left or right, you can move things around. I wouldn't play too much with that. This next one is going to amuse the crud out of you. Don't get lost in this one, but you can play sounds. So down here, the same things we had for that. We can play a sound. We can play a tone. I once had a student do jingle bells. One note at a time. And for every program they wrote, they played jingle bells as it ran. It was rather interesting at first and then annoying. So we can just play a file. And this is your volume. And this is what you want to happen. you want to wait for completion. Now, this is important. If you play a song and you play wait for completion, your robot will not do anything until it's completed. You can also just play it once and the robot will go on, or you can repeat that thing over. If you do this, uh, I don't know, you probably deserve detention. Do not do that to people. That's annoying. So up here, you can pick different sound files. So I can pick almost any sound file I want. There you go. There are some sound files. Uh, in your programming, it's not bad to have sound files. It makes it kind of fun, but don't forget your focus, because I've seen that happen a lot where people forget their focus. The last one is the lights on the brick. So right around that brick control, that status light in the center, you can actually change those colors. There's really only 3 choices: green, orange, and red. That's it. You can turn it on, off, or you can reset it. It can be flashing or not flashing. That's your choice. So true, it's flashing. False, it's not flashing. Now, here's a warning. This won't do anything if you don't have a wait block. So let's talk about the wait block. In fact, let's talk about a couple things. One, I'm going to do something rude. I'm going to unhook my start block. So if you want a program to run multiple things at the same time, the way you do that is you pull that start block away and you hover over here until you get that little blue spool, and you run that spool to it. Now I can run that spool. I can do it again. Uh-oh. Sorry. It's annoying me now. I can run it right there. So I can actually do a bunch of this stuff. And I can run multiple programs at the very same time. This is an interesting way not to waste time. When we get to the competition thing, you're going to notice a lot of people stop and do things like move their. Sorry, my analness is taking over. They're going to stop and move their claw. So while their claw is doing something, the robot stops. You don't have to do that. You can actually run multiple timelines and do multiple things at a time. Now, so let's talk about why this is problematic. Usually I have in class and I run it and I say, people, what happened? They say nothing. Well, something really does happen, but it happens so fast your eye can't see it. So we're going to go to the next variable, and this is flow control. Action and flow control are really going to be your best friends. They're to be almost everything you do is going to be in them. So the first one's called a wait block. Now, a wait block has a ton of options. And all these flow control, there is a ton of options. When you press this button, you'll see it has a bunch of things it can do. So you can wait for brick buttons. So basically, it's waiting to see if somebody presses the brick button. It can wait and see if the color sensor finds the color. It can wait. We're not playing gyro sensor or infrared. It can wait and see if a motor rotates so long before it turns itself off. We don't have a temperature sensor. It can do a timer. So it can compare a countdown timer and see when it hits a certain time. You can do one of the touch sensors. It could do the ultrasonic sensor. Maybe you got it flashing when it hits 10 inches, just to let you know. Generally, most of what we're going to do is we're going to do time. And time is in seconds. So I can make that, let's say, 5 seconds. So for 5 seconds, it'll flash on and off and just keep going. It'll be very visible. Let's talk about the next block. The next block is called a loop. And a loop makes something run repetitively. So here is my loop. Right now it's sent as an infinite loop. So I put that medium motor control in there. Remember, if I'm going too fast, pause and back up. Right now, that medium motor would just go forever. It would run 360 degrees. There'd be a little pause, run 360 degrees, pause, go forever. You've got, again, just like the other one, you've got a ton of things you can do. In fact, you could do a count. So maybe I make that medium motor go around 4 times. That is a forever loop or a loop. You're going to use that a lot. Loops have some serious value. The other two things here, I don't think I want to show you right now, and we'll just leave them as they are. Whoops, I brought it on anyway. Okay, so this is my friend called the switch. The switch works just like it sounds. It has two possibilities, in this case, on or off. So let's say we use the push button sensor. Remember, my sensors are, we haven't got there yet, my sensors are all on the red. Oh, sorry. No, sorry. My sensors are all in the yellow. I got to remember what I'm doing. So let's say I do my push button sensor. That's what this is right now. It says a touch sensor compares states. So it's either touched or it's not touched. So that touch sensor, if it's touched, maybe I go back to my actions. Maybe I make it change. If it's touched, I'll change the picture to angry. And if it's not touched, I'll change it back to black. Just like I had before, right? So if you touch it, it gets angry. If you don't touch it, it has a black eye. And it just waits. Press, 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 press. Now here's a problem right now. This will only check one time. If I stick it inside that forever loop, or it'll run 4 times. When I press it, it'll give me that chance. All right. Remember, I could stick this forever loop. I could stick it anywhere I want. I could create another looping. Let's do that. So we got that going. I'm gonna stick this way out here. I'm gonna get another string and run it right to here. So now I got it, and I'm gonna make this a forever loop. Forever loop. If you press the button, then it gets angry eyes. If you don't press the button, it stays black. You'll notice now I've got 5 simultaneous programs running. Really, the only 2 places you're going to play are green action and orange flow control. Do play around with it. That's all today is. Play around with your brick and let it go, and answer the worksheet. Program this on the brick. What you're going to do is take your USB cable, and it's in your box. You're going to plug it into your computer, and you're going to plug it in your robot. This requires you guys to share a little bit now. Once you do that, you're going to notice in your bottom right-hand corner some things change. You can now see these motors. Remember when we talked about port view on the brick? Now you actually have it right here on your screen, which certainly makes things a lot easier. So let's start with the menus. And there's a couple of toggles on the left side here. We'll go to that first toggle. The first toggle, leave alone right now. We're just going to stick to USB because I'm not there to help you with Bluetoothing. So we'll just stick there. This will show you everything you have plugged in and where it's plugged in. It kind of helps programming to know, hey, my medium motor is plugged into A. Good. I have a medium motor. It says A. I'm good. If I had sensors, it would show them down here. So the next thing I'm going to do is go down that lower tab. That lower tab, actually, remember I said here's the place where you can actually rename your robot pretty easy, and that's right here. If you do that, make sure you hit save. It says firmware. Do not ever update firmware. That's my job. The last thing it shows you this little line, and that's how full it is. If you press this little bucket over here, or the barrel, it shows you everything that's loaded onto your program. And right now it should say nothing because we haven't loaded anything. And it allows you, if you want to go in, to delete a bunch of programs. It's the best place to do that. So I have this program. I saved it. Now I'm going to download it. There are 3 options on the right here. The first one is download. The second one is download and run. And the third one is run selected, which is a dumb one. Right now, I'm just going to press download. And you hear that sound, which means the robot has downloaded. If you press download and run, it'll take off. And that's generally not what you want to do. Press download, then go to that second tab and find your program. Remember, you're not naming things program 1, program 2, blah, blah, blah. You're naming them specific names. When you run your program, do not run your robot on your desk if you're not prepared for it to crash. So the worst thing that can happen to your team is you can run that program and your robot will leap off the edge to its doom and crash. I would suggest running it on the floor, or I've got that big table back there. That is the best place to run robots. Take that out and set it up and run the robots it. Remember, after class is over, you guys got to put that back behind the closet. All right, do some programs today, try out some stuff. Tomorrow we'll get specific on moving in specific distances.